Hello everyone. I have this tool in front of me that I wrote some time ago. It's called Snitch. According to the description, it's a simple tool that collects to-dos in a source code and reports them as GitHub issues, which is not particularly true anymore because it actually supports more platform than GitHub. So it also supports GitLab, Gitty. I don't remember if it supports Bitbucket, but maybe it does. In any case, this is actually a pretty cool tool, right? As description says, it searches for the to-dos in your source code, right, and reports them to the issue tracker, which enables quite cool workflows with your source code. I'm gonna put this thing in the description if you're interested in this tool. It's written in Go, by the way, so that means you should be able to install it with like go get and URL to the tool. So let me take a look at the description. Okay, so Snitch source code, right? I'm gonna put that in the description. Check it out in the description. I guess maybe that requires a demonstration. So let's actually see how this tool works. Okay, so here is the Snitch. So maybe I'm gonna go to the Snitch lab. So I have a special repo where I test the Snitch. So what we're gonna do in here, we're gonna just put a to-do in here, which is called test, right? And then we're going to run a Snitch on it, report, let's just say report. So as you can see, it detected the repo, right? So it got it from the remote of Git. So it actually went into .git folder, extracted the remote, and determined that, okay, this is a GitHub issue. And it also found to do, and it asks you, do you want to report it? Okay, let's answer yes. And what that did, let's actually go to Snitch lab, right? That created an issue with precisely this the same title as the to-do itself. Furthermore, if you take a look at the source code, it associated issue number with the to-do. So on top of that, it created a commit where it added that to-do, right? So yeah, as you can see, it actually added that to-do and it's there. So what you can do now, you can actually push that thing into the repo. And since it refers back to the issue, it's going to be associated with this issue. Right. So now if you go to the issue, you will be able to see where the to-do was created. And if you open the source code in the to-do, you can see that it's issue 99. Right, and as you can see, the number of the issue is 99. So it establishes like a connection, like bi-directional connection between the issue and the to-do. And if you know the to-do, you can always find the issue. If you know the issue, you can always find the to-do. So which is quite cool. So, and on top of that, there's also other things. It can check if particular issues were closed. So let's actually mark this thing as closed. And now you can run Snitch purge, right? And it actually takes the to-do, the reported to-dos, makes an API call and checks if the issue is closed, right? And then it asks you, do you want to remove that? Okay, well, we're going to remove that. And what it does, it creates a commit where it removes the to-do, right? And it just literally modifies your source code, removing these lines that are not needed anymore. And you can then push all of that into the master, right? Recently I discovered a bug in this tool when I was trying to report some to-dos that I implemented for my JavaScript framework. So as you can see, it's called Regex, and the name of this repo ends with JS. And since we're using regular expressions everywhere in Snitch, that caused some problems. Right, so this is my very, very simple front-end JavaScript framework. If you're interested in this kind of thing, I'm gonna put it into the description. So Regex, there we go. And it has a bunch of to-dos that I wanted to report with the Snitch, right? So it has like 3 of them. And I actually had trouble doing that. So let's see what exactly is going on in here. So let me go in here. So let me fetch. Let me actually check the status of this thing. Fetch prune origin. for each origin and merge origin master. Okay, cool. So now if I try to snitch list all of the to-dos, here are all of the to-dos that we have. We have 3 of them. So if I try to report them, okay, it asks for these to-dos, as you can see, and I say add all of them, and this what happens. It says API error, message not found, and it redirects to the documentation about how to create an issue. So yeah, that's kind of weird, and this is precisely how we create issues, so I don't know what's the problem. What's the problem, officer? So turns out I already investigated it a little bit. It's because of the irregular expressions that we use to parse the URLs. We parse URLs with regular expressions. Well, the reason why we use regular expressions is sometimes remotes are not particularly URLs. They could be also SSH paths like git at github.com, then a colon, then something like snitch.git, and as you can see, this is not a URL, right? So we need to be able to parse both URLs and these kind of things, so it's some sort of like SSH path. So that's why we're using regular expressions. Okay, so let's actually try to understand what is going on in here. So yeah, here are different supports for different backends. So as you can see, we support Gitty, GitHub, GitLab. I don't see Bitbucket in here, so I suppose this is the 3 platforms we do support. Let's actually open github.go. Oh my god, so let's actually disable white space mode. And let's find create issue. I don't think... Yeah, so there is a get issue, there is a post issue. Okay, so it's called post issue. And as you can see, here is the repo that we post in there, and we just inject it into here. So probably you can maybe inject some additional things in here through the to-dos. Maybe there is a vulnerability somewhere in here. I don't know. I'm not a security specialist. I'm not a hacker. So, but let's actually try to print the repo and see what's going to happen. So it's going to be print ln, and let's actually sort of accentuate that output so we can instantly see it. I didn't mean to put W's in here. All right, so, and let me try to rebuild this entire thing. Okay, it was actually rather fast. Okay, go. So if I go now to Grecha.js, and if I try to snitch specifically with my instrumented snitch tool, right? Instrumented snitch tool, what we will see. Aha. So first of all, it is not particularly correct. This thing does not exist anymore. This is because it's yeah, remote is incorrect. So initially this repo was called tag. Initially it was called tag, but then I renamed it to like a different name, right? Because tag is already like, I mean, it's already taken on NPM in its very generic name. So I needed to come up with something more unique. So I came up with this stupid name. So, okay, let's actually try to set the URL to the new name. So I'm going to set URL for the origin, and the URL is going to be git, actually SSH1, right? So let's put SSH1. Okay, so now if I take a look at the remote of the origin, so can I just do get URL, I suppose? Okay, so let's try to snitch everything up one more time. So it's .js.git. As you can see, we clearly see .js in here. So let's try to report this thing, and it says that it detected, detected project, but it still didn't put JS in here. So yeah, even on the level of detection of the URL, it screwed up the naming, and it still won't work. As you can see, it detected it as Grecha, but without .js. So we have a problem with extensions at the end of the names. And that's precisely what we need to fix in here. So I already created an issue for that in the issue tracker, and I think I'm gonna just fix it live right now. When the repo names end with an extension, blah, blah, blah. So it's an issue 209. Okay. So let's see what we can do in here. So I probably have to go, maybe I'm gonna actually split my screen. So in one screen we're gonna have the framework, in another one we're gonna have Snitch. So if I take a look at this status, right, so what is the status of this thing? So I'm even not in the master branch, so let me clean up things a little bit. So I'm gonna reset everything, I'm gonna check out the master, and I'm gonna fetch the latest stuff. Origin right, git merge origin master. All right, looks good to me. And can I delete these branches? Okay, I remove this. I can remove this one. How about that one? Okay, everything is removed. So let's try to rebuild everything. Okay, so everything seems to be rebuilt. So we know that at the level of detection, we already have something incorrect. Look. Right, so this is it already detected something that doesn't exist. So let's actually go to the place where it prints detected project. Detected, okay. Detected, so this is basically where it's going on. So we have credentials, get host. So the question is, what is creds? Where do we get creds? All right, so creds, get remote, get repo. So what is the remote? So essentially, remote just takes the current remote in there, right? So first of all, the remote is origin, but it tries to actually do some different things. Okay, I see. So we have an ability to customize the remote through the command line arguments. Yeah, I see that. So because by default we use origin because that makes sense. That's the convention in Git world, right? But sometimes people may have different conventions, and for those people we created a flag. Maybe it should be some sort of a configuration. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, so this doesn't really matter that much. So the main problem, I suppose, comes from the function get repo. So this is directory, this is the remote, and so on and so forth. What are we doing here? We get credentials. So from the system, we locate .git folder. We find the configuration. We find the remote section. Here's the remote section. Then we take the URL. So then we do some URL aliases magic. So URL string, URL string, and this is probably where all of that goes to shite. All of that goes to shite. This is actually a pretty complicated regular expression, not gonna lie. So maybe the problem comes from the fact that we're trying to smash everything together, right? So we have different kinds of URLs. The SSH URL, and it's not even URL probably, SSH address I would even say, and the web URL, and we're trying to parse all of that with a single regular expressions. Maybe we should actually have specialized regular expressions. This one is for SSH, this one for web URLs, and we can try to sequentially check them, and so we don't have to deal with this mess in here, as you can see. So so something wrong is going on in here. So maybe what we're gonna do here is we're gonna find Regexer, right, and Regex 101, and try to troubleshoot in there. So can we, I mean, okay. Okay. To Regexer. Okay. So can we put some sort of thing in here? So, I'm gonna actually print the string because I want to see precisely what's going on in there. So I'm gonna just assign it like this, and we don't even have to do that. And this is gonna be just s. And in here we're gonna do fmt print ln like this, and then fmt print ln s. There we go. So let's try to go to here and rebuild everything and see if it's even rebuildable. Okay, so let's try to run it. Here is our regular expression as far as I can tell. So yeah, as I already mentioned, the problem here is that we're trying to parse two kinds of URLs with a single regular expression, addresses, not URLs, right? SSH and web URL. And I don't think it's a good idea because that leads to a lot of complexity, right? You have to keep a lot of things in your head and you have to incorporate them together in a single regular expression. It's just like a no. Let's just have a specialized things. And I especially like this this confused emoji that we've got in here. But I don't know when I'm gonna be separating this regular expression into. Maybe I'm gonna create a separate issue for that. We'll see. Okay. So here is the regular expression. So can we just put this entire stuff into Regexer and just see what's going on in there? Okay, so nothing was matched in here. So let's try to match some things. Let's try to match the this thing. Did it match? So there is an error. Unknown modifier. Really? This is not the modifier. I'm not quite sure what the hell you're talking about. Ah, this is probably because of some escapes. It could be because of some escapes that don't need to be escaped or something, but I'm not 100% sure. Not 100% sure. Well, what? Okay. So is this because of this thing? Is this because of this thing? Is this because of this thing? Okay, it was difficult to understand which thing actually caused it. So I'm gonna try to see, maybe it was because of this thing. Yes, it was precisely because of this thing. I wonder why it didn't properly work. Maybe I have to escape some of these things. Maybe I had to escape this thing. Okay, so I had to escape them. I wonder why we didn't have to escape that in here. That was a little bit sus, I'm not gonna lie. All right, so it matches this thing really well, as far as I can tell. Does it match the groups? Can we see the groups? Okay, so we see separate groups in here, which is nice. But it doesn't actually show them in here, which is kind of meh. But that's fine, that's fine. Okay, so let's try to take this niche lab, but take a look at the git SSH, I mean. And it also matches SSH, so this is the main problem in here. Right, so if I try to add JS, yes, it simply does not match this kind of stuff, and I presume because we don't have a dot in here. Right, let's actually add a dot, and now it matches everything. Now it seems to be matching everything. So we also have an optional git, but I'm not 100% sure. So if I put this stuff in here, it will still work, but I suppose we are escape character matches character. Okay, I guess that's the fix in here. That's the fix. We just need to add dot in there and it will be fixed. So let's actually see what we can do in there. So if you have a problem and you try to use regular expressions to solve it, now you have two problems. And I suppose maybe we have to add the dot in both of the cases, right? Right, because this one is the repo, right? This one is the repo, and this one is the owner. Owners probably also can have dots in their names, can they? So can I have something like a.b? Probably not. That's very strange. Page is not working. Somebody has a name on GitHub, A, and it's a K-Comrade. That's very interesting. Imagine actually like owning the name A on GitHub. Does anyone have E? I'm pretty sure like all the letters are taken. Okay, so that's fine. But apparently you cannot put a dot in here. Yeah, you cannot put a dot in here. Very well then. So on all the stuff, so let's actually put dots in here and see if it's gonna actually fix anything. Also, this one is a little bit sus. So we're using dot, but we're not actually escaping it. That is very, very interesting. So what if I escape it? So nothing should change. For some reason I want to try this. Yeah, so it's not related. Okay. So, and we also found another interesting bug in here, right? So this thing also needs to be escaped. This thing also needs to be escaped. So I also want to add it to do. So the URL parsing rejects in concerned about too many things. It tries to parse two different kinds of remote addresses, SSH address, and URL address. Smashing all of them together. It would be probably better to have separate regexes for different kinds of addresses and check them sequentially. So I don't know if separating all of that into lines is a good idea, because it's not gonna look really good on the issue tracker. So maybe I'm gonna actually just have it in a single line. You guys check them sequentially. Sequentially. Did I spell that word correctly? I'm not sure if I spelled it correctly. Yeah, of course I didn't. Well, but I have an excuse. I don't speak English, so I am the sequentially. That way, how to express that? So what's the benefits of doing that? So the main problem is that if you try to use the regular expression for all of the things, you end up with a very complex expression, right? But if you split them, your complexity becomes manageable, right? Right. That way, the complexity of regexes becomes more manageable. And I wonder if I can spell check this entire thing by selecting it and doing iSpell. Okay, so if I want to skip to leave unchanged, okay, and this one has to be manageable, and I'm gonna do 0. Okay, so that's actually pretty cool that in Emacs I can select a thing and just spell check it like that. That's pretty cool. All right, so we have that. Let's actually try to build this entire thing and see if it's gonna work or not. So it's gonna be go build. And I'm gonna go in here and I'm gonna use my instrumented thingy, and as you can see, it detected the repo correctly, which is very interesting. So I think it didn't actually because this is, well, I mean, technically it is. All right, I think if I try to open this thing, it will open correctly. Yeah, it will still open correctly, but something may break. All right, so I'm gonna try to. Still doesn't work. So it feels like it doesn't ignore the Git. Even though it's sort of like supposed to. Is that because of this thing? I wonder. Well, that would be weird, but who knows? No, it's not about that. Okay. All right, just a second. Let me make a cup of tea. I accidentally stopped the recording instead of pausing it, so I'll probably have to, you know, glue two files together with FFmpeg or something. Anyway, whatever. So this thing does not work for some reason. So I wonder why. So it used to work if I didn't include these things. Right, it just used to work if I didn't include them, I think. Right, if I try to rebuild this entire stuff, right, it will kind of sort of detect thing. Yeah, it detected it, but it didn't put Git in there. So the question is why it matched the Git, or why it matched the Git. Probably because. Okay, I see what's going on in there. It has something probably to do with like greediness or whatnot. Yeah, it must have something to do with greediness. Okay, so that makes sense. Or sort of. Let me go to here, right? So, and I'm gonna put the dots back in here. I'm gonna put the dots back, and this one is gonna be that. But I don't remember how to do like the non-greedy version. I don't remember if it's greedy, non-greedy, or something. So let me see what's gonna happen in this particular case. Okay, so I have to actually rebuild. I have to actually rebuild this entire thing. Compiled languages, am I right? Imagine rebuilding things in 20. Shit, fuck. Oh my god, so it's now G. Ah! God damn! We definitely need to have two separate regular expressions for for the HTTP URL and for the SSH URL. This is precisely what I was talking about in here. This is the madness it leads to if we try to smash two like semantically different things into a single regular expression. We get madness. We already get madness because of the regular expressions, but it's gonna be worse. So I don't even know. So sometimes these things end with .git, sometimes they don't. And I'm not quite sure how we're gonna handle all of that. How are we gonna handle that? So basically this thing may include Git, but if it's I don't even know. So it may include, may or may not. So when those things can have dots. Those things can have dots. And if this entire thing ends with a regular expression. Okay, let me take a look at this regular expression one more time. Right, so it's gonna be one more time. So, and if I wonder if it always included that. It feels like it's always included that, but not sure. So again, if I put question, yeah, it only does that, unfortunately. But can I do it like this? No, you cannot do it like that. So if this thing becomes mandatory, so this is the only thing that it matches. So yeah, and this could be optional. And also, by the way, can I put a Git in here? Yeah, it matches all of that. And if maybe I can remove these entire examples and just see what's gonna be the Git hub. Well, it looks like this one actually captured it properly, more or less, as far as I can tell. But if I put JS in here, right, so it still captured it properly, I think. I think it captured it more or less properly, but it's hard to tell actually. It's hard to tell. I didn't see the capturing group. Is there like a way to see what exactly it captured? And I'm blind, I'm sorry. This interface is not intuitive. It is not intuitive. So it's explain, list, replace, details. Finally, oh my god. Okay. So here's this is what I was looking for the entire time, right? So here's the group match 0 group, and it includes all of that stuff in here. But what's interesting is that if I remove the dot, it only does that. Click match to display match in groups. Wait, what? I don't understand. Where did it go? Click match. The fuck is this interface? Okay, so it didn't match, or did it? I don't understand. So bad. I'm probably dumb or something. Okay, so it's that. So that's what we're trying to achieve in here. And to be fair, I don't even know how to achieve it. So to make it optional, right? Still make this thing optional, but not capture this stuff, right? Not capture this stuff. So I don't even know how to do that. I don't even know how to do that. So it's very strange. So maybe it could be something like or, right? So essentially we can just make this thing like that, right? And maybe we can have like or the thing without this stuff. And I'm pretty sure this is not how you do that. This is not how you do that, right? So this is really, really weird. How can I make this thing optional? We can try to post-process it or something, like... Yeah, so we need to rely less on the regular expressions and whatnot. I never actually encountered that problem in regular expressions before. It feels like the main problem that I see in here is that we have two nearby groups that overlap in each other, right? So basically this group can consume the entire thing, and this group can consume this part, right? So the question is, how do we do that? Maybe we know that it always ends with git. Maybe I can put something like this in here, and it doesn't really help, right? It doesn't really help, though maybe somewhere here I can put, yeah. So we have overlapping capture groups. Maybe this sounds like a common problem in regular expressions, right? If you're using regular expressions daily, which I'm not, probably you encountered something like that, and people on the internet probably discuss that. So let's actually try the following thing: Regex overlapping capture groups, because that's what's going on in here. We have overlapping to capture. Okay, so apparently people are talking about this kind of stuff. But not really, so this is not a capture. Positive look ahead assertion. Okay, sounds very interesting. Positive look ahead assertion. Look ahead and look behind zero length assertion. So collectively called look ahead. So the difference is that look ahead actually matches characters, but then gives up the match, returning only the result match or null match. This is why they're called assertions. They do not consume characters in the string, but only assert whether a match is possible or not. Look ahead allows you to create regular expressions that are impossible to create without them, or that would get very long-winded without them. Look ahead is indispensable if you want to match something not allowed by something else. All right, that sounds like a thing we want to have. Positive look ahead. So, so we want to match something that is not allowed to be matched by something else. Negative look ahead constructs the pair of parentheses with the opening parenthesis followed by a question mark and exclamation point. Inside the look ahead we have positive. Okay, so regular engine internals. This doesn't really explain much. I need like more examples. I need more examples, but maybe maybe we can actually read something like this. I want to try that without trying to understand positive look ahead. I want to try that. Can I just do something like this? And wait a second, did it just work? The fuck? But I mean, it doesn't show click match. I'm clicking match. Okay, one match, no match found in 40 characters. But what the fuck is... Ah! Click match! By saying click match, they mean click on the highlighted... Oh my god. Oh. Tell me in the comments, please. Am I dumb or the interface is horrible? Because sometimes I get blind to these kind of things. Like, am I dumb or this website is dumb? Who's dumb in here? This is not intuitive. Click match. When the interface tells you click something, they probably usually mean a button, and there is a match that looks like a button in here, and I keep clicking on it. And what they mean is that click on the highlighted area. And of course, you could have guessed it because it's highlighted the same thing as match, but it's not fucking intuitive. Like, okay, I think this worked. I think this worked. All right, so let's try different things in here. So I'm gonna try a version without the JS. Okay, so there's no JS in here. And what about HTTPS? All right, HTTPS. So that seems to be working. That seems to be working. And what about without the JS? All right, I think I actually got it correctly. I think I got it correctly. So we have a look ahead. So there's explanation for look aheads, by the way. Positive look ahead matches a group after the main expression without including it in the result. Oh, okay. That's precisely what we need. Matches a group after the main expression without including it. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. This is just probably that's precisely what we need. I wonder if there will be any problems with this kind of thing. If you see any problems with me using this positive look ahead, please leave a comment down below and smash like and subscribe. Sorry. So what do we have in here? I wonder if I can actually simplify this entire thing by doing something like this. I actually can, apparently. Yeah, so I don't need additional parentheses. I can just do something like look ahead. Okay, apparently I learned something. Like, I don't use regular expressions every day, so sometimes I just like don't know these kind of basic things. But now I know. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Okay, so let's try to put this thing in there. So it's gonna be something like that, and because of that we probably don't need this question mark in here, so yeah. I wonder if our regular expression engine actually supports all of that shite. All right, so let's try to run it one more time. And invalid or unsupported Perl syntax. Okay, we found a solution but it's not supported by our regular expression library. Yes. Goddamn classic. Goddamn classic. You have one problem, you try to solve it with regular expressions, you have two problems. Anyway. Okay. Okay, go. Okay, go. So let me see what we're using for regular expressions. Okay, go Regex positive look ahead. Go regular expressions with positive look behind. Well, thank you, Google. Very cool. Don't support look behind. You can check for supported syntax. Okay. If you do need look behind, you try third-party modules. Okay. So what do we have? Do we have a look ahead? Look ahead. Look, yeah. So there's not even look behind, ahead, or anything like that. There is a Regex 2, a full-featured regular engine in pure Go based on the .NET engine. Full-featured regular expression for Go. So is it even supported? November 16th to 2020. Yeah, I would like to just not rely, compare. Okay. So they do have a look ahead, right? Yeah, positive look ahead. They do support that. So Regex does not support that, but this thing does support that. I mean, like switching to like a third-party dependencies just for that small little thingy sounds like a little bit like an overkill. But I mean, that could be an option, right? So this could be an option. Let's actually try to save that option. Okay, so it's gonna be like that. So maybe we're gonna keep digging to positive look ahead. Go doesn't support positive look ahead assertions. Yes. That is correct. This is not a bug referred to check supported syntax. Yes, I do agree with that. Thank for the answer. I also noticed statement on Golang nuts. What's Golang nuts? These nuts is not supported neither or two in Google's Go. Is there okay? So they probably try to keep things simple. If you need positive look ahead, maybe you're just doing something wrong. Maybe that's precisely the thing. So the lack of generalized assertions, like the lack of back references, is not a statement on our part about regular expression style. It is a consequence of not knowing how to implement them efficiently. If you can implement them while preserving the guarantees made by the current package Regex, namely that it makes a single scan over the input and runs in all of n time, then I will be happy to review and approve that CL. I don't know what is CL. A contribution? I don't know what CL. However, I have pondered how to do this for 5 years off and on and gotten nowhere. Okay, that makes sense. Do we really care about about this kind of stuff? So again, I'm still pretty confident that changing to a completely third-party dependency because of such a small feature is not reasonable, right? Because you're bringing like potentially slower implementation, right? As was stated by Cox. You also bring lower quality support because it's not by Google, it's third party, it's somebody else developing all of that, right? You also bring in a bigger dependency, so the library is bigger, and also there is higher possibility of that library being abandoned because it's some third party. At any point, like these unreliable third parties can just give up on this kind of thing, and we already depend on this kind of feature, and this is kind of like, it's actually very high price. In my opinion, switching to this thing is a high price compared to what we get, right? If we were using more things from Regex if we're using more things from that thing, I would consider that. But we want to use only this small little thing, and I think this is too much of a price. So I wonder if we can simulate, sort of look ahead ourselves. What if we split this entire thing into two regular expressions, right? So the first regular expression is going to actually capture everything, right? Everything, and yeah, check if this entire thing sort of ends with .git. And through this thing, we're gonna trim off the optional .git. Once we trimmed off the optional, we can probably even do that without regular expressions. I'm pretty sure there is a function that works on strings that just trims off the suffix or postfix, I don't know how it's called, right? So just do that without regular expressions and get rid of this thing completely. So split it into stages. That way we get the wanted result, and we don't have to depend on third-party dependency that is like, I don't know, like where it's coming from. I don't even know who that is. Maybe it's a reliable person, but nothing personal. It's just like generally, I would rather depend on something that is supported by main Go developers than a third party. Because the Go language proven to be pretty stable. So I do want to depend on things that is developed by the the main Go team. So no offense to Mr. Clark. So yeah, guess that sounds like a plan, maybe. I think that in fact sounds like a plan, and we'll see. Okay, so Go remove suffix. Go string remove suffix. Okay. Trim strings suffix or extension. Okay. But what if I know the specific suffix? Right. I want to be able to do something like, you know. So here is the host must compile. So we have a URL string, and I want to be able to do something like, rel string trim suffix, right? Trim suffix of URL string, and just put something like this in here, right? So it will take a look at the end of this thing, and if it exists, it will just trim it off. If it doesn't exist, it doesn't touch it. So I want to be able to do these kind of things. Okay. So there is a trim. Oh, there's literally trim suffix. Okay. Strings trim suffix. Okay. So returns s without the provided trail suffix. If it doesn't end with the suffix, is returned unchanged. That's precisely what I wanted to have. Thank you very much. Thank you. Mine cat. Okay, so we're gonna remove this entire thing, and quite importantly, so we have groups and stuff like that, and maybe I also gonna do strings trim suffix, right? And the suffix is gonna be .git, because at the end of the day, that's precisely what we're trying to achieve, right? That is precisely what we're trying to achieve. So as you can see, I had regular expressions. Well, I mean, let's actually see if it works before I'm gonna say anything preaching. All right, so because I don't know if it's gonna work or not. Okay, so what do we got? And we detected everything correctly. So let's actually try to report those things. And all right, and I'm gonna push all of that into the repo, push origin master. And if I take a look at this entire thing, it's going to be greatchat.js. And I think here they are. We reported all of the to-dos in here quite successfully. My God. Also, I want to test the Snitch lab. So Snitch lab, I'm going to put a couple of regular to-dos in here. So it's going to be full. This one is going to be bar. And this one is going to be, let's do it like that. I'm going to replace R with Z. And now it's bus. And let's go back in here, Snitch report, and I think it actually did everything correctly. There we go. Everything seems to be working. Everything seems to be working. So now, here's what I want you to say. Here's what I want you to say. We had a problem with regular expression, and we could solve this problem, but by adding more regular expressions, by adding look ahead, and also depending on a third-party, completely third-party regular expression library, we could add more regular expressions. We would solve this problem. We would solve this problem for now, but our technical decision might introduce more problem in the future. Right, again, because it's third-party dependencies, we don't know how well it's supported. It's definitely slow, it's probably bigger. So, yeah. But I decided to go the opposite route. I decided to go to add less expressions, less regular expressions. So I actually shrink down this regular expression and I simulated like look ahead, I suppose, right? So I first trimmed the suffix I don't care about, the potential suffix I don't care about, and only then apply simpler regular expression that does not depend on features from a third-party library, and I still get the same result I wanted. So yeah, so less is more, boys and girls. Less is more. But maybe that will introduce problems in the future. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. The winner gets T, but we're not going to introduce more problems because of the additional dependencies. Okay. So let me see. So probably I'm going to do a committee and maybe even pushy. I'm not really sure about this to do for now. The real parsing Regex in Git repo concerned about too many things. To be fair, since we simplify this regular expression, maybe it's not that big of a problem anymore. You know what I mean? It's not that big of a problem anymore. Yeah, I think it actually asks for very specific actions, and I'm not even sure about these actions anymore, so I'm not going to actually report this to them. So hopefully, yeah, okay, so that should be a fix. We simplified the regular expression, made it handle more things, and we just simply trim git.git without the regular expressions, right? So let me take a look at the things we do in here. So maybe first I'm going to create a separate branch. So the issue is 209. There we go. All right. So what we're going to put in there? Allow. To be fair, look, I do remember I said, well, we don't really know, right? You see here, we have a sort of like a host. It's not even a host, but it's rather like an owner. We allow the owner to have dots. But the thing is, so GitHub may not have dots, but we also support GitLab and Gitty. Maybe in GitLab and Gitty, dots are allowed in the host, or maybe in the future platforms we're also going to have dots in here. So I'm going to include that. So I wasn't sure if I want to include dots into the owner of the repo. Repo does need dots because in GitHub you may have them. All right, so allow dots in the owner and repo. So in this, it's issue 2.9. Okay, so let's go through the checks that we have in here. So we need to do go fmt, right? Go fmt, and I just apply it like this. And I don't remember how to use go fmt. How do I make it modify things? Display the diffs, write results to the source. Okay, so it's gonna be go fmt and write results to the source, and we don't have any go fmt problems. Okay, so another one, we have to do go vet. So it's some sort of a linting thingy. Let's see if it's gonna find anything. It's doing the fuck is it doing? It's trying to compile something. The question is why. I don't know why, so I'm not gonna do that. Do I have a go lint? Okay, go lint seems to be all right. Travis. So let's actually try to run the tests. So we do have some sort of tests. Okay, so the tests seems to be all right. The test seems to be all right. That's actually pretty cool. And then I'm gonna go to the Travis, and I'm gonna try to build with -v. I suppose it's for verbosity, and looks all right. So let's actually push that right into the repo and see if it's gonna break something. We'll see. We'll see. So, and we're just gonna do this kind of stuff. So it also works on regular repos as far as I can tell. So should be all right. Should be all right. So yeah, I spent almost an hour fixing a regular expression. Welcome to the modern software development, everyone.